Kia ora, Gary. This is my personal reflection because I took so long with my presentation, and I sincerely apologise for that. The first one that I want to talk about is the connectivity. It was expected, but I was probably thinking that it would be more from the school network, and that wasn't the case in the end. So that definitely changed the direction of Kahoot. And I also think that it made it difficult for me to rectify because it was basically out of my hands. But it did prompt me to think quickly on my feet. And although I felt like I did okay, that was definitely a huge issue. And I had planned ahead for any lagging or loss of connection with the network. So I had met with the IT manager beforehand, but obviously we didn't expect the website itself to be lagging or losing connection with the students. The next is one of the biggest things I learned about Kahoot was introducing a new topic and the way in which you can do that. So after each question, prompting those discussions with the students really did open up my eyes to new ways of introducing specific topics, but also it also opened up doors for the students to have a more in-depth conversation with the teacher, not only with me, but also with each other. So it did prompt them to collaborate a lot more and discuss the answers that, or even the questions that emerged during those sessions. I highly recommend testing Kahoot, but I really enjoyed running these sessions with my family and friends. Given that we were in different locations, it was different. It was really different and invigorating to know that it actually worked and that we were in different places, but still working collaboratively and having those discussions and also competing against each other. So I like Kahoot in that way, and the personal reflection on that is I was able to create a game that involved many different people, different levels of learning, and also sort out different stakeholders to contribute to creating some of the Kahoot games. Jumble was definitely different. Creating it was quite thought-provoking, but even more so for the students because they had to actively pick one of the options and shift it in the correct order. So that did require the students to concentrate a bit more. It also eliminated all the students who are quick to press the button. So they did have to ensure that they were thinking about the order that they had placed the answers in. And the other part to Jumble was that you must get every single one of them correct. So there are 4 options. So all 4 of them must be in the correct order. So even 2 out of place would then mean that you received no points. And that was a downer for some students, but also an eye-opener for them. And it definitely prompted them to sort of think a bit more about the answers that they were submitting. So they had to actually press submit, and I think before they would press that button, they would sometimes talk to each other and just see if they were happy with the answers they were submitting, and that's if they were working in pairs. One of the biggest challenges, and that definitely came up in my research paper, was filtering the data. I was collecting data after each Kahoot game and also having informal interviews with students and teachers. I was also gathering unit work so that I could create the Kahoot games. And when it came to analysing the data and filtering through it and collating it and formatting it and structuring it in a way that makes sense when you're presenting it. That was definitely a challenge, a huge challenge for me, because I had so much information and so much data. I was finding it difficult to choose the right data and the appropriate data to answer the questions. And I almost felt like I didn't want to leave anything out. And even now, I still think that I've left a lot of data out, but I would like to make that available to you, Gary, and if you want to have a look at it, you can do so. So that was a challenge for me, and I would probably, now that I've actually gone through it all, definitely make sure I put in more preparation time, even though I felt like I had put in enough time to prepare for the trial period. At the end, it kind of felt like I didn't. I like that the game is culturally responsive, so you can actually I have written Kahoot games in Te Reo Māori, and my partner, who is also a kura reo tutor and is not very tech savvy, he has now created some Kahoot games all in Te Reo Māori, and we have played this with students at the kura reo. I really like that it's not just limited to Te Reo Māori, given that I'm half Samoan. My cousins can create these games, so I love that this can be integrated or translated into other languages that are appropriate for the audience. Last but not least, the integrating of technology. I chose this because it was simple, fast and easy. Obviously, through my presentation, you can see I came across a lot of barriers, but I truly believe that the model that is in the PowerPoint is something that our school can definitely look at. I don't necessarily want to focus on the technology itself, but this model, the concerns-based adoption model, helps the school to understand basically how you can integrate technology, as opposed to focusing on the technology itself or the technological system. And that's where I think that sometimes a lot of schools go wrong, or in my experience, where we probably started and we're focusing more on the iPads and the devices and the BYOD, that we didn't really look at the staff. And what I like about the concerns-based adoption model is that the first part is about mapping a clear picture of what constitutes high-quality implementation. The second one is looking at the stages of concern, which is a huge thing with teachers and even the students as well. And the last one is looking at the levels of use, because everyone is different. Everyone's skills base is different to, it's all based on experience and how willing you are to learn and give things a go. So the concerns-based adoption model that I've put in my PowerPoint, upon reflection, I think is a good start. And Kahoot, in my opinion, I would recommend to people starting off with technology. But for those who are tech savvy, I do think you can take it to other levels if given the time and effort to maybe change it a bit. Ngā mihi, Gary, and all the best for your new job. And I hope that I have not taken up too much of your time. Kia ora mai.